old medium, new medium, caviar leather, ruthenium hardware, medium large, reissue 2.55. Are you confused? Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Andrea. Cheers! In today's video, I thought I would go over some of the terminology that we on YouTube use with regards to handbags, in particular Chanel handbags, and just expect everybody else to know what we're talking about. So I thought I'd talk about the sizing and hardware, but just briefly, because I'm not an expert. It's just what I hear on YouTube and from years and years of watching videos on handbags. Now, I don't have all the bags that I'll be talking about because I'm just an ordinary person with a little tiny addiction. My husband would say otherwise, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So let's get started. We'll start off with sizes. This is the boy bag, and this is sometimes referred to as the new medium, but in fact this is the large boy. When the boy first came out, I think there was a size bigger than this, and that was the large size, and I think that's why this was then referred to as the new medium. I went online, I couldn't see a boy bigger than this, so I don't know if they have stopped it. But if you were to go into a Chanel boutique and ask for the new medium, they wouldn't really know what you were talking about, or at least they would kind of make out they didn't know what you were talking about. Because in the Chanel boutique, at least over here, this is the large boy bag. So currently the boy bag comes in 3 sizes: the large, the medium and the small. Now, just as a wee comparison, the large boy is roughly the same size as the large classic flat, which is sometimes referred to as the jumbo, but it is smaller, it is shorter, and it is roughly the same length. I will give you the sizes of the bags. The large boy is 6.9 inches from here to here. It is 11 inches across here, and it is 3 inches from here to here. So that's the size of the large boy bag. And just as a comparison, I'll give you the size of the large classic flat, which is sometimes referred to as the jumbo. So the large classic is 7.7 inches, it is 11.8 inches, and it is 3.9 inches. So it is bigger, and you can see it when you see them here. You can see that the jumbo is bigger than the large boy bag. Now, the small in the boy bag is roughly the size of the mini flaps. Now, I don't really want to call it a classic because the minis are not really classified as classics. The minis are more of a seasonal bag, although you can get them most of the time. The mini is roughly the size of a wok. So the small boy is more of a mini size. The medium Chanel boy is slightly smaller than the classic flap, and this is sometimes referred to as the medium large, but again this is the medium size. Let's talk about abbreviations or different names that we give to the bags. You'll sometimes hear this, or quite often hear this, referred to as a WOC, which is an abbreviation for wallet on a chain. That's it, that's all it means. But again, if you go into a Chanel boutique, what you ask for is a wallet on a chain, because it's supposed to be a wallet with a chain. There we go, and there's the chain inside. And like I said, this is roughly the size of a mini. So the size of a WOC is 4.8 from here to here, and it is 7.5 from here to here, and it is 1.2 from here to here. Now a mini boy bag is 4.7 from here to here, so kind of just slightly smaller, and that's the boy, that's slightly smaller. And the boy is 7.9 from here to here, so slightly longer. And the width from here to here, the boy is 2.8, so significantly wider in width. Then the other thing you might hear is a jumbo. Now this is the jumbo, which in fact is the large classic flap. Now the classic flaps come in 4 sizes, the actual classics. So they come in the small, the medium, which is sometimes referred to as the medium large, and the large, and then 1 size bigger, which is the maxi, and that's the line in the classics. You have the minis, which are smaller, which are not really looked at as a classic, and then you have one which is much bigger, the super something or other, that's bigger than the maxi, but that doesn't have a double flap or anything like that. You'll hear about the reissue and the reissue 255, and on YouTube when people talk about 2.55 they refer to it as sizing, when in fact it has nothing to do with the sizing. 2.55 is actually the year. The 2 refers to February and the 55 refers to 1955, when Coco Chanel first launched her classic flap. Now it is said the first classic flap was in the form of the reissue. Now the difference between the reissue classic and the classic here is the lock. It doesn't have the CCs, so it just has the turn lock, and the chain is different as well. It doesn't have the leather in between the chain, and the bag is a lot more smooshy than the classic here, and that's really the differences in the bag. The sizes that the reissue come in are totally different from the sizes that this line of classics comes in as well. They're kind of in between these sizes. That's what the reissue is. Then we have the different types of hardware. So for example, this is the gold hardware, and this is the type of gold hardware you get on the classics. So that's the gold hardware. On my boy bag you'll see this is what is referred to as antique hardware. So when I bought this bag, this was described as the large boy bag with the kind of a tomato-ish red colour and antique hardware. So this is the antique hardware, and this is the traditional boy lock. You also, on the classics that are always available, you also get the silver hardware, and the other type of silver hardware you get is sometimes referred to as ruthenium hardware, and that looks like an antique silver hardware as well. In fact, I have my YSL bag here, and that's kind of what the ruthenium hardware looks like. It's that sort of idea. So it's darker, sometimes it's dull, sometimes it's shiny. This one here is more of a dull one. This is the YSL type of hardware. So that's the different types of hardware. Then you have the leather. So you have lamb leather. So my boy has lamb's leather, and a lot of people say this is a lot more delicate. Personally, I haven't found it to be. My wok is also lamb leather, but this is a treated lamb's leather because it's iridescent, so it has a coating on it, and I feel this is more hard wearing than this, but I haven't had any problems. I haven't used it as much as I've used my caviar leather bags. So far I haven't had any problems with it. So that's the lamb's leather. You also have the caviar leather. Now caviar leather simply means that it's calf leather that is pebbled, so it has this pebbled effect just here. So it is calf skin so it is cowhide, and that's what caviar leather is. You can get calf leather that isn't pebbled. This is supposed to make it stronger and more hard wearing. Both my classic flaps are caviar leather. When I first went to get my medium classic, I did look at the lamb leather in this, and it was to die for, but I was scared at the time. I didn't know enough about the leathers, and I went for the caviar leather, and at the time I probably did the right thing. I wasn't expecting to get another classic bag, so I went for something that I felt was going to last longer. But in saying that, what puts me off lamb's leather is when you look at the vintage classics, the lamb leather seems to deflate. My boy bag was never as puffy as my classic flaps, so this never had the puffiness that they had. The style of this wasn't like that, so I didn't worry about this depuffing because it wasn't puffy to begin with. So that's the different types of leather that you get. You get this, you know, this goat's leather, but more often than not, this is what you hear people refer to: caviar leather, calf leather, iridescent. This is iridescent, has a coating. When you hear iridescent, it's a coating over the leather. It could be lamb's leather, it could be caviar leather. Now, the other thing you might hear people referring to with the classic is the classic double flap, because there was another style before this, which, well, originally this was the original style. It was a double flap. Then Chanel brought out another one which was a single flap, so it didn't have this flap here, and it was more of a basic style. It was more like the style of the boy. So as the boy, it doesn't have a flap inside it, and it's just the one pocket there. So that was the same sort of style with the single flap. For me, a classic flap is a double flap. That's the way I look at a classic flap. That to me is the original bag, and the reissue also has the double flap as well. That's a little insight on some of the terminology we like to use on YouTube. I know for most of us that watch YouTube, but we're used to hearing the terminology. I was talking to a friend today, which actually gave me the idea for the video, and she was saying to me, what size is the new medium? What's an old medium? What's this? And I was trying to explain to her the different sizes, so I thought I'll make the video instead. So here I am. Cheers! And I'll catch you next time. If you have found it helpful, remember to give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos from me, I will link one here, and I'll catch you next time. Bye! This is going to be hell to hear.